It's kind of fitting because you talked about a quarterback and a guy that rushes the quarterbacks that we bring in our quarterback, our resident quarterback, Marshall Ferguson, for the redtag.ca aerial report to talk about all of the quarterbacks playing in the division finals. On the east side, Fajardo against Chad Kelly. I kind of just want to be like, the floor is yours, and what fascinates you most about this matchup, I guess, to start.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's good to be on with you guys again. I'm as intrigued as you are by Chad Kelly and the perception of, well, in pro football, he's never really done this. It's like, well, yeah, he'd also never been a starter full-time in pro football, and look the season that he had, right? So my general feeling on Chad coming into the season was that he was going to have, a couple of games where you're like, whoa, this is unquestionably the best quarterback in the league. He was going to have some games where he just kind of coasted and faded, and he was just kind of mediocre. And I thought he'd have some games where it was like, oh, those are some Johnny Manziel-ish interceptions where he's just trusting his natural ability and he's not really putting in all the work and all the rest. And then I started talking to people more and more as the season got closer, and they're like, you are just wrong. Like, you don't understand how locked in this guy is, how talented he is. I think that the Argonauts last year, not out of scratch, not out of thin air, but have been able to build this thing that you could probably put Chad Kelly on a lot of other teams and he would have success this season statistically, and he'd probably be a winning quarterback. But you put him in Toronto surrounded by everything that he is, whether it's Ryan Dinwiddie calling the shots, the belief that they've put in him. You put him in Toronto, and it's been a pretty special formula is how I feel about Chad. And on the other side for Cody, I have a lot of respect for the fact that Cody keeps finding ways. And the playoffs are all about finding ways. Like, maybe this game turns into a turnover fest. Maybe it turns into an up and down the field. Austin Max got 200 yards receiving like Keon Hatcher for the BC Lions this past weekend. Like, it's whatever type of game it turns into, Cody has given his team confidence that he will find a way, that he will try to get over the top. And obviously, Dwayne Ford talked about it a lot in the Eastern semifinal on TSN. If you're going to get over the top for Montreal, you got to beat the teams you haven't beaten yet, which are the top three teams in the CFL. Well, no better time than now to try and prove that narrative wrong.
If the Montreal Alouettes are really going to pull this off coming into BMO, like, clearly the underdogs, but one of the things that you recognize is the fact that they've completely improved. What do the Montreal Alouettes have to do in order to stop Chad Kelly?
So there's 3 Montreal-Toronto games that I've done play-by-play for TSN that are educating me on how to answer this question. The first is week 21 of last year.
Yeah.
And did you play in that game, or did you get the veteran rest day?
I did not play that game.
Okay, I was going to say. It was the end of the regular season. You guys had locked up the East Division. And because that game didn't matter, quote-unquote, to me, that almost felt like Noel Thorpe and Montreal were doing research on Chad Kelly, not necessarily for down the road in this situation, but just in, we hear a lot about this dude. Let's see what he's actually got. Yeah. Montreal blitzed him like crazy. He is at a place now where I don't think Noel Thorpe can recklessly just throw the kitchen sink at him and see whether or not it works. He's going to have to try and confuse Chad's eyes. If you can get them to make a couple of errors as the underdog and throw you a couple of interceptions, you've got an opportunity. Noel Thorpe is going to mix and match a bunch of stuff. Being clean, being smart, and identifying what Montreal is doing defensively is going to be how Chad Kelly has success in this football game. And I have no reason to believe that he's not going to be clean and avoid the bad interceptions, and he's going to identify where all of those moving pieces are.
Any numbers for the East final that stand out to you that you want to bring up?
The PFF passing grade, Cody Fajardo significantly lower, 70.6. He finds a way, but it's not always the prettiest thing. Like, it's not highly executed, high completion percentage. At times it's been clunky and ugly. And I think a lot of that has to do with what might be the most important stat of all in this game, which is sacks taken. Cody Fajardo on the year in Montreal took 55 sacks. Chad Kelly took 15. That is a difference of 40 sacks. To me, that spells real trouble for Cody, and he might be running around more than you can even anticipate in this one. So the other one that I have for you is big-time throw percentage, same thing. I bring this up because there's a huge discrepancy between Chad Kelly and what Cody Fajardo has been doing. Again, Fajardo, 4.3% is his big-time throw percentage. Kelly has the same big-time throw percentage, according to Pro Football Focus, as you have from Vernon Adams Jr. and Zach Collaros. So all year long, we've been talking about the best 3 teams in the CFL in a tier of their own are Toronto, Winnipeg, and BC. Well, it turns out their quarterbacks have also been in a class of their own when it comes to big-time throws, and they're almost the exact same. And then the final one is air yards. Chad Kelly, 59%, and Cody Fajardo, just 47% of his yards are coming through the air. It is a lot of underneath stuff. It's a lot of high completion percentage. That's what they're trying to do. Efficiency with Jason Moss's attack. And I think what I'm most interested in with this is the only quarterback that is in these division finals that is getting less than half of their yards through the air is Cody Fajardo. Cody's got to make some throws because his air yards through the year have typically not been to the standard of a downfield attacking quarterback. If Montreal falls behind, that's going to have to change. And when that happens and he changes that approach, what happens on the back end defensively for the Argonauts? Do they give up some big plays or do they capitalize, get some interceptions, and shut that thing down?
It's going to be so fascinating because it really is just such a stark contrast of styles of the way these two teams play. And I mean, it's the most kind of viral Chad Kelly clip of after the BC game when they played a lot of man, and he was like, yeah, play some man. So we'll see if Montreal wants to do that and how many times they want to do it. Thank you so much for joining us, Marshall, for all the insight, and it's so many things for viewers to watch now with the game within the game on Saturday and these two amazing matchups.